This is the final question of the study session, and it's asking us to do some complex number operations. First off, all answers should be in the standard form, which is a plus bi. So we have a real part and an imaginary part with I. The I indicates the square root of -1, the imaginary unit, and then b is a factor of that, a real number factor of I. And so we have, in our first problem, this is the square root of -25i. First off, the square root of -25i should be rewritten. Square root of -25. Your first step is just to say, well, that's the square root of 25i. Take that negative out. That's what we can take the square root of. And square root of 25 is just 5. We aren't solving an equation, so it's not plus or minus. It's just 5i. Okay, on the next one, we're asked to subtract two complex numbers, and what we want to do is look at and this is pretty straightforward algebra. The I terms we should keep separate from the real terms. So rearranging our terms, or just rewriting this without parentheses. Let's just rewrite this without parentheses. That's plus 6i, 4 plus 6i, minus -1. That's plus 1. And we're also subtracting, or we were subtracting -1. We're also subtracting 2i, so minus 2i. Now, rearranging our terms and putting them together, we have 4 plus 1. That's the real part. So we have 4 plus 1. And the imaginary part, we have a 6 minus 2. And that's the imaginary part. So our final answer then will be 5. 4 plus 1 is 5. And that's the real part. The imaginary part is 6 minus 2, which is 4i. Now we have a multiplication problem here. 2, and this is just standard FOIL distributive property technique. 2 times 9 is 18. 2 times -3i is minus 6i. 4 times 9 is 36i. And then 4 times -3i is minus 12i squared. And just remember, I squared is equal to -1. Standard property of the square of the imaginary unit, because, I is equal to the square root of -1. So if we square both sides, we get I squared is -1. So this whole thing right here is -1 times 12, or -12. It's a real number. And I'm subtracting -12. So I've got, pulling together my real parts, I've got 18. This last term is plus 12 plus -6 plus 36i. And so 18 plus 12 is 30, and -6 plus 36, is plus 30i. Okay, and finally, just know what a conjugate is. The conjugate is the when you're looking at any complex number, the conjugate of a complex number is what you get when you just change the sign of the imaginary part. So that's just simply 2 plus 3i. It's kind of a just know it sort of fact.